No, it's.
Takes
gonna
them
be
a year
out.
or
It'll be
two
a couple
after.
years,
Yeah. The other thing though, on the update on the sewer district though, they've been making good progress and they told me that they were putting 2 crews on the Hillfield Road area so that they can get through that whole area, right? So has that been working out good? I mean, I've driven through there when they put the 2 crews on and at night, and we were shuffling artists back and forth, and I thought they handled the traffic
I
well.
think it's been doing well.
What's going down Gentile?
Going down Gentile West.
Out west?
Yeah.
Those are the manholes after we did the paving, they're raising all the manholes back
Oh,
up.
okay. I just wondered there. It's all blocked off or whatever.
And I guess we're at the final stages of the review for, up by
Fairfield.
Fairfield, right?
Yeah. We just met with them this week.
So that will be the next project for us, anyway. Anyway, that's my
Okay.
update.
Back to that Gordon Avenue, Hillfield construction, the secondary project, there's been some discussion on social media about that crossing at Hill Boulevard. Is there, or what's the status on finishing that area?
So they just got it paved back actually Wednesday, and so we ended up getting it painted and had it back, and then our crews have been watching it as well with the crossing guard to make sure that we've got as much safety as we can, and then the contractor is starting to move past that area. So hopefully they'll be away from that area pretty quickly, and then it'll be widened and opened up. But I know Paul Apple's been out there monitoring it during those crossing times as well for us, so.
Is there one crossing guard or two there?
Just one, there's just the one right now.
I drove through it on the way here and I thought, this might be even safer with the construction going on because they're limited on lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul did mention that the crossing guard did a great job today and was really vigilant in making sure that everybody was being able to see everybody and everything that's going on out there.
Thank you.
That's good.
Mayor, do you have any information, or do we have any information about the teen center?
So I've asked on that, and I know that they just said fall. Because at first we were told probably by school, and obviously school started. I think they'd run into a couple of little things on the fine-tuning, the finishing of it, and I wasn't told exactly what it was, but I have asked, and they just said fall, and that they'll certainly let us know when they have that opening. But I have not been given a date yet at all.
Just had some folks asked about it,
Yeah.
and I thought,
I know
oh,
that-
yeah, I don't know.
I know that they did, just so you guys know, I mean, Jody did say that if we want to go there prior to, if we want to have our own tour right now, she'd be happy to take us through if we wanted to do that, so. The teen center over here.
The volunteers that work in the high school
Uh-huh.
for the teen center,
Yeah.
they went on a tour through it and said it was, you could tell it wasn't finished, but yeah.
So, I mean, if you guys want one, I'll be happy to set it up, but it should want probably, all of us, basically.
Yeah, be nice to see it when it's done.
Before, do you want to do it beforehand, or just wait for the grand opening, or the ribbon cutting, whatever you want to label it?
I personally would like to go in before the ribbon cutting, so it's not a madhouse, but close to it, so it's done,
More complete?
you know.
I agree.
You guys feel the same way? Is that? All right. Okay, I'll mention that to her then. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, September 17th, which is Saturday, is JC Day. We made it JC Day. And they're going to be over in the museum doing some live recordings of history. I don't know that they're going to do all JC stuff because they're old enough to know a lot about Layton, so they may be doing other things. So just a note to let them, to let you know that's what they're doing. I'm going to go over there and do one on the parks. I don't know how I got parked. But anyway, poor Parks Department. Most of them, the ones I'll be talking about are dead, so I'll be okay.
Unless you're not. You said September 17th, you meant August though, right?
No, Oh, I'm sorry, did I say September? Yeah, it's August, it's this Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
good
Yeah.
catch. Good mind
Yeah,
reading there.
great catch. Yeah.
The only thing I have, I've given you all flyers to the Screenagers event, which is happening next Thursday, right around the same time almost, at 7 PM over at the amphitheater. We want this to be as big as possible. It's a free event for teenagers, parents, community members. If you know any parents that have teenagers, any people that work with youth and teens, this will be a really good screening. Again, focusing on substance use in youth and the digital age and kind of how things spread differently than maybe we thought. So just, it's gonna be a good event. In addition to the gift card raffles, they have some other items that were donated that they are gonna be raffling off, as well as, of course, the student credit recovery, like citizenship credit recovery. So we're just trying to put it everywhere. I believe it should be in Peach Jar. It wasn't there today, but we've been told that it's gonna be on Peach Jar, and I was able to get it to the city for the calendaring. In the future, maybe if we can have a bigger role as far as partnership with the city, and maybe we could have some opportunity to showcase some of these special events, like on the marquees. I don't know if that's something we can do or not, but these are things that are sponsored by the city, and it's for our youth and our community and our family members. So we just want to make sure that we can get as many people out as possible to like benefit from all of the resources that we'll be offering during the event. I'm also probably going to talk to Dak, Dave, maybe you think on Friday when we show the free movie over at McKinley, if they'd be willing for somebody, either me or somebody else, to announce that this will be happening the following Thursday and that it's free.
I would suggest to call Micah.
Okay,
Better call him
just call
tomorrow.
directly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'll reach out to him, but we're just trying to make sure that as many people are aware of it and know and can come and benefit from the resources that are provided. So I do have one other update. We got an email yesterday that Amelia Williams, who's the coordinator over all the coordinators,
Right.
she's took a new job. So that doesn't affect our individual CTC, thankfully, because
Yeah.
Megan's doing a great job. But yeah, Amelia has a new job that she'll be starting next Friday. And we do have Lisa back on our community board.
Oh, really?
So,
Oh, cool.
yeah, she's
She was
back
good.
as a board member because she
Yeah.
still works in Salt Lake, but, yeah,
Good institutional knowledge.
definitely, definitely.
UIA we had a meeting, and passed a resolution that authorized, the CEO and I guess the finance folks to offer $19 million in bonds. This is revenue bonds, and it's designed to assist UIA revenue with additional improvements. So there was a lot of discussion about, what does this mean for current bond obligations? What does this mean for future? What is, what's your, I guess, what do you foresee this being the last bond issuance, or do you think you're going to be doing more? The finance folks said that they anticipated $6 million in increased revenue on these bonds, and so they didn't feel there would be any sort of negative consequences on cities. That revenue has been well above what debt obligations were, and these ones are just to create more capital, or get capital, and then go out and improve the infrastructure. We grew about 1,000 subscribers month upon month. In fact, there was some discussion about Idaho Falls, which is just kind of skyrocketed in terms of its subscriber base, and that's without any sort of debt, any sort of debt at all incurred on that. So it's just all revenue. So this is kind of what Mr. Timmerman, who's the CEO, saying he didn't think this would be the last one, but it's a way for us to continue to build and continue to try to build out the network in a way that helps us be able to continue to attract subscribers. So it was passed unanimously by the board, And there's a public hearing on it at 8:30 in the morning on the 9th of September, where we're gonna meet and they're gonna invite public comment. Anything you want to add on that, Alex?
No, just basically, amen, it's a good project. One of the things, I'm on the Utopia side now, it's actually covering the UAA, but one of the things they did talk about is that the revenue, well, the subscribers are up, but month over month, the revenue is increasing by in excess of 50,000 a month.
Yeah.
So it's 100 this month, 150 the next month, 200 the next month, so it's really in a good position. And the other thing is that this money, they've done a few of these days, which is, the money is not as much for the infrastructure you're putting in to build the system, is to capture customers. So the return on that, you take out the debt, and the return on that debt is immediate because you're using it to connect people, right? It's based on the demand of the connections. It's not, you're building a system and 5 years later, somebody connects to it and get that the infrastructure is basically in place. So that the turnaround is, the return, the timing of the return on the investment is much quicker, so.
This is a chart that they showed, try to show it, and I'll just flip it around, but this is a chart that showed UIA revenue in blue, and then this is the debt obligations up here, and the revenue is increasing beyond what, obviously, so that's the revenue in blue, and then these are the debt obligations, so, but it's nice to see because, I mean, just when we came in, like 2020, it was, it wasn't that close, it wasn't that far. There wasn't a lot of room for growth. You couldn't see, white space between where the obligations were and where the revenue was. So that was nice. And then I think one thing I wanted to also mention is that, we have, in the city, we have the third most residential, I guess, subscriber opportunities, but we have the highest number of users. Yeah, and so Orem and West Valley have more potential, but we actually have more subscribers by number, which I thought was a good indication that our residents have been really satisfied with what we have, because they were talking about take rates, and it can kind of be a little bit difficult to project because we have a lot of unincorporated area in the city and stuff, and that counts against us for the take rate percentages. So they were talking about looking at more subscribers by number, not necessarily the percentage. It's been really good news. So good news all around. I mean, this is something that we talk about, and I try to bring you as up to date as I can. The bond stuff is quite complex. I mean, I can't say I understand everything about what's going on. But there's a lot of backstops. They have outside counsel that gives them legal advice that's specific to bond and bond ratings and how you set the percentage and when you go to market and all that stuff. So I think we're in good hands. But if you're wanting to join the public hearing, just let me know. I'll let you know when it is exactly. I have it up here. It hasn't been officially put in yet, but I believe it was the 9th of September at 8:30. So that's my report on that.
Anyone else?
Ramp really fast. Each year, they've been trying to improve the process of applications and the after their reports to get their money. And anyway, this year the commission's decided to have trainings for everyone to come in for to help them with filling out the grant, filling out the application for the grants. So hopefully that's gonna.
The people wanting it, right?
Yeah, come in, kind of like with the parade, you have to come in and be part of the
Mandatory
parade, yeah, mandatory meeting, something like that, so it's
Nothing wrong with
just trying to
that.
improve things, so.
It's good.
It's all on that.
They've done it often, but I think, obviously, it's not often enough on some of the reasons.
Yeah.
Some of them get rejected because they don't fill it out properly. Well, that's good.
But also, just one other thing, offering after you've turned in your application, if there are questions, there'll be a period of time where you can come in and talk about, all right, help me answer these questions, and so it's not a kind of a gotcha after where
Right.
your application's not complete. Well, you didn't tell us it wasn't, that, so anyway, there'll be a 6 week, or I think a 6 weeks time period to be able to answer any questions and so it's not, they don't want to give the money, it's want to,
But
so
meet,
we're gonna help you.
meet the guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When does that go out to vote on?
Next year,
So, not this fall, but
not
next
this fall, yeah, next fall. 2025.
It's been a great program. It's worked very successfully, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, like I said, you can't educate people enough on how to apply and then, you know, make sure that they meet the parameters. So I'm glad that you guys are constantly doing that and perfecting it.
Do you know if they're, are they moving the deadline up in order to give that
The time was there, they were just creating a period,
Yeah.
making people aware that there's that period of time.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? If not, we'll go ahead and go on to our Valley View project, an update, which will be interesting. Thanks, Steve, for continuing with this.
Okay, just as a real quick update as well, back to Tyson's question about Hill Boulevard, I wanted to update you that we did install a brand new street light on that intersection. So it's a 40-foot tall luminaire like is out on Hillfield Road, and that just got turned on about a week and a half ago. So we're hoping as the darker times come that that'll be a big improvement for us. So yeah, the Valley View Drive project, been a lot of work, a lot of analysis. Just kind of wanted to give you an update about where we are and where we're headed. So we've got basically 2 phases that we're going to try and do this in. One is from Cherry Lane up to Sunset Drive, the other one's from Sunset Drive to 2600 North. The reason for that is that there's a potential development coming over there on that phase 2 side that we're in conversations with. There's a lot of impacts to the road that we probably don't want to build a new road and then have them tear it up. There's also some down on that south side by Cherry Lane. There's a development over there. We're not sure where that's at in the process. It got a conceptual approval and then sold, and so we're working on that, but we anticipate being able to work around those and get everything fixed that we want to
Is
try
that
and
with
get
the
fixed. So,
Faulkner property?
yeah, the Folkman property is the one on the
Folkman?
south end, and then this piece up here is the one that I believe UDOT ended up
Selling?
having some property there after the UDOT 89 project, so you got a question?
What's changed?
So-
I didn't know, I thought we talked about this and then we talked about.
Well, yeah,
So what's
so,
the,
yeah,
everyone's acting
exactly.
like they know what's going on, I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Well, no, so let me,
Just read the.
we've been talking about this for a long time, so yes.
I was like, okay, well,
Let me jump down to the next one. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, so the position that we took, which if we didn't communicate that well, I apologize, but what we attempted to do, the way I described it in a simple way is we've tried to take the existing infrastructure, recognizing the significant impacts that would be done if it were done from scratch new. We've tried to squeeze as much blood out of the turnip as we can without killing the turnip, basically. And so what these guys have spent guys and gals, men and women have done, is spent a lot of time trying to extract without taking properties and damaging properties significantly, is work our way up through there and to provide a better travel experience, a better bike or walking experience, and to take advantage of shoulders. And they've been very creative in doing it. It's taken a lot of time to analyze that, but that's what we're trying to navigate a minefield. That's probably too dramatic, but to improve it to the extent we can without creating all of the negative effects. So that's what we're proposing here. And we thought that was consistent with the council at a much less price to recognize that some of the issues that were indicated are real issues, that
They are.
at what cost. And we think we've tried to navigate it. You guys will tell us, but that's Steve's folks have done that.
Yeah, thanks, Alex, that's perfect.
Sorry, thanks.
No, sorry, I maybe should have been more clear on that. And really, the pavement surface, nobody's gonna argue, the pavement surface needs to be fixed, and so that's really what has helped drive this too. So some of the project needs, we have water and sewer utility work that needs to happen on this road. There's connections on a 6-inch water line up there as well. There's a new 12-inch water, newer 12-inch water line. We need to abandon that 6-inch water line and then move it, the connections to this 12. And then there's some spot repairs on the sewer to remove those sags in the pipe. Then we need to widen the narrow pavement sections. We're not going to be able to go to the full width that some of the residents have asked for, but I believe we've got a good solution here that will give us a good travel lane, but as well we'll have a good pedestrian and bike area for people in these areas that have been more narrow. And then we heard that there were some lighting issues, so our lighting group has gone out and we aren't going to put up our C street lights per se because there's no curb and gutter and, to protect them, but we do have some options with Rocky Mountain Power to use their electric poles and put some lights up for us there that will still enhance the lighting. It won't be quite as decorative as what we like, but it will add to the safety of the roadway as well. So
You know, I hate to bring this up, but we know that who's up in that area, and we're looking at more direct downlight. Right?
Yeah, we've talked to Rocky Mountain Power, so we've got that.
Is that
as
the right way
well.
to say that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
they'll be the Cobra headlights that shine on
Thank
the
you.
poles. They're not quite as nice as the ones we put up, but they function. And I think that's what we're looking for here is something that's going to look great, is nice, but the functionality is what we really have to have for some of the limitations that we have. So anyway, we need to move 65 services to the 12-inch water line and abandon the 6-inch. There's 6 intersection connections we need to reconfigure, and then there's 10 fire hydrants that need to be upgraded. Most of them are older than I am. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but it's time to get them upgraded as we go. So there's 5 repair areas in the sewer. We videoed the whole line. Our crews up at our shops videoed the whole line for us. We found that there's about 5 areas that need about 160 feet of sewer line to be replaced before we put a new pavement surface on. So we'll get that taken care of. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to widen the pavement sections and do that. So full removal and replacement of the asphalt, and then we're going to get the narrow pavement sections to a minimum of 30 feet of pavement. So right now, some of those narrow sections are maybe 24, 25 if we're lucky. We want to make a consistent path on the west side of the roadway for pedestrians and cyclists to use. That's the downhill side. Most of the side is the
'Cause
downhill
most of them
side.
try to use the east side.
Yeah, they try to use the east side because it feels a little bit flatter, but in order to get the road where we need it to be, we feel like there's more sidewalk and more pedestrian,
Okay.
facilities on that west side that will be contiguous. So the 7-foot shoulder where there's no curb or sidewalk is what the goal is during that 30-foot section. And again, the 10-foot or the 10 lights. So this is just a pavement cross-section. It's not really super fancy in any way, but there's 30 feet of pavement here, and then we're going to have 1-foot road-based shoulders in the areas without curb and gutter, so that we can get a good pavement cross-section. It'll look a little strange because the 30 feet, 15 feet would be an exact center line, but we're going to actually move that center line to the east just a little bit to give us what we need to do. And then this is what the travel lane will be, is we'll have 2 11-foot travel lanes with a yellow center stripe, and then we'll have a double white stripe on the west side that will give you that 7-foot pedestrian and bike lane area for going forward. There are some areas where we have much more than 30 feet of pavement, and so that area will be bigger in those sections, and most of those are where the curb and gutter has been able to be installed. So you can see this is kind of a plan view of it, where we've got the center lane, and then we'll have our side shoulder that people can use for biking, walking, and getting around. So as far as schedule goes, we're ramping up to get the water and sewer utility work done last week of August through early October. Depending on how that goes, we're hoping that we'll be able to be in there with the pavement this year as well. If the weather doesn't hold out for us through October, November, we might have to push the pavement until early spring, but we're really pushing to get this thing done this year if at all possible. Rocky Mountain Power, we've already submitted the request to them. They will actually be the ones that install the lighting on the poles, and so they're scheduled depending on how much work they have. We're still working with them on that to get that taken care of. So think that's all my slides on that, so are there any questions I can answer for you? I guess maybe a little bit more on that, Alex asked earlier. We've had to get kind of creative on how we're gonna get this road up here and widen it out in some of those areas, and so the road, it will still drive and feel like it's a straight road, but we are gonna have to kind of move the center line back and forth as we get up in there so that we don't impact some of these properties and stay within, obviously it will all be within our right of way, but we do have some grades that are gonna be a challenge, and so if you push too far into the hill, you create problems. If you push too far off the hill, you have problems. So our crews and our team have done a good job of trying to, I'll say, thread the needle, as you will, to be able to make that happen. And we feel like it'll be a great addition and improvement up there, and I know the residents will like the new pavement, obviously, once it's done, but then the pedestrian space is gonna be a real good addition in those areas that don't have it now. So.
I don't have a problem with waiving this. To me, that's just gonna help with the speed
Yeah.
control and that, and the fact that we're accommodating the pedestrian traffic, pedestrian/bike.
I think it'll be fairly unnoticeable. It's,
Yeah, I
they won't
do.
be sharp, but, you know, you won't
The
be
only
able to
question
just
I-
hold it straight and go, because,
Yeah.
you know.
The only question I have is knowing that, and I'm fine with this, knowing that the pedestrian's on the west side,
mm,
but during the snowplow season, it's natural for the water to run downhill, so that means all the buildup and ice and everything else is gonna be on that south side.
Yeah, our intent would be, we're gonna have to plow all the way off to that roadway shoulder and
Okay.
push that
So
snow
it still
out,
will
yeah.
allow, because I know that there's people that's gonna walk you around and
Mhm.
do their exercise, and that's what
Yeah,
they're after.
our intent will be that we're gonna need to push the snow past that shoulder and off onto the roadways. And I
I'm
have to
just
get
glad
the-
to see the renderings. I kind of like Clint, and we didn't know, the last we had had conversations about this for a long time. And the last we talked about it, it was just kind of like, you know, yeah, we know there's a problem, but we don't want to have to take all of these people's homes. And so, you know, I don't even think any of us knew that you all were working on this. So I'm glad to see that you're working on it. I'm also glad to see that there's a thought, an idea that it might even get done this year.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I kind of want to ask what prompted that, but maybe I shouldn't. But I'm grateful that you have
We're
been.
probably doing it.
Yeah, prompting
We-
doing it like this,
Yeah.
because when we talked about it like last year and the year before, it was kind of like a, yeah, no, this isn't gonna happen because.
Yeah, we've been, Alex, I apologize for not communicating that, but we've been working on it internally all the way along, trying to see, is there a way, not knowing there was, but is there a way we can improve this without, again, causing the devastation that was talked about? And so it's taken a long time, and they've looked at a variety of options, and obviously, it's one of those things that we probably should, in hindsight, obviously, it became a little bit out of mind working on other projects, but there was still work going on behind the scenes, and otherwise we should have provided more regular updates to you about it. But when we found that there was a solution that we thought would work, we just said, let's move forward with that and have the financing in place and then present it to you. So, but
So
we could've-
speaking of financing, I know that that was the biggest hurdle and why we figured there wasn't, so how were you able to come up with it, I guess?
Well, the original financing number was like $10 million.
Right.
And that was because we were gonna have to buy all the properties, and then we're gonna have to do just enormous amounts of walls and things like that. This really is a pavement restoration project, so it's actually, you know, more like our you know, mill and overlay projects that we're doing as far as the cost goes. So substantially cheaper, but I think it still meets some of those needs that have been expressed by the community, we acknowledge, but the pavement needs help too, and that's
Yeah.
where I think some of the underlying drive has been also, is that we know the pavement needed help. Our crews went up last year and did a bunch of, you know, very, very temporary patching to try and make sure it was drivable, but it's time now that we don't have all of the, you know, Highway 89 construction going on and everything like that. It's time to get the pavement restored and renovated, I guess, to be where it needs to be. It's been a long time that it's needed it. So.
think within the existing budget structure that's provided last year and this year, we can do this. So there's not a request for additional money coming. Again, I think it's credit. You know, a lot of people say engineers aren't creative, and a lot of them aren't. This is a great group. I mean, and this speaks to it. It's if you say, I'm editorializing, but you know, it has to be perfect. It's all or nothing. What they've shown is no. We can think outside of the box, and we can find a way that addresses the issues, maybe in an unconventional way, but it still meets all geometric and safety standards, and addresses the needs, but doesn't break the bank or cause unnecessary damage in terms of takings and so forth. So it's a lot of engineers, I think, maybe engineering departments would say we can't do it because it's not perfect, and they've been asked, let's find the solution that works, even if it's not perfect, because imperfect's better than nothing, right? And they've just taken that and ran with it, which is to their credit. You know how good they are. Anyway, public works and engineering, but it would have been easy to say no and can't do it perfect, so we don't do it. But anyway, so thanks to Steve and his crew and
That's good.
everybody.
Especially when we had all the residents out here.
Will you have to do any, you did mention that there were small portions of people's property that might need to be taken. Is that still?
We won't have to take anybody's
Nothing at
property
all?
to do this. We will have to do some tie-ins along the roads where the road, as engineers, we like to draw really nice pictures, but the road doesn't look like that right now. And so there's some of these where the road will actually come along and then it'll just dive off very sharply. And so we're gonna have to do some adjustments on these edges where the road maybe doesn't go at that perfect slope. And so there will just be some adjustments, but it won't be any kind of property taking. It'll just be tie-ins so that they can still use their driveways and function. So there's some stuff in the right-of-way that's encroachments, I guess I'll call them, that we might have to push back a little bit, but nothing really extreme is the way we're looking at it compared to what the original ask was for some of them to make it a full-blown right-of-way.
If I remember correctly, a lot of those neighbors have been, I mean, they've been doing their own neighborhood discussions. But if I remember correctly, that it was the takings part that was the big concern, and that those homeowners on that west side, I think it was, those were the ones who were going to have the greatest, impact. So do any of them have any idea that this is even something that's being done, and that they probably won't have much impact at all, or very minimal?
So the one gentleman who's been emailing me is, we've told him what we're looking at doing and how we're trying to get the pavement, restored. I think he's kind of come to the realization that we're not gonna do full curb gutter improvements, everything, but at least the roadway needs to be improved as well. So we've been in communication with him. He's asked a few times, and we've said, yeah, we're looking to try and get this done. If we can get things lined up in the contractors, we're hoping late summer to get in there with the utility work, and then potentially the pavement. If not, then the pavement will have to, happen in the spring. I'm really holding out, I gotta wear those two hats. We need the water for the winter, but but we need to not have snow in September, or else we can't build our roads either, so,
Okay. Anyone else?
It's an awesome surprise.
Yeah.
But I remember the biggest concerns, at least in my mind, when we had residents come, were speed on the road and pedestrian safety. So the pedestrian right-of-way is awesome. It's
Yep.
great, dedicated. So what is the speed limit along there, and are there dedicated or controlled or not controlled crosswalks from the east side to the west side?
Yeah, there's not any controlled crosswalks in that area. There's not enough pedestrian demand to actually meet any of the warrants for crosswalks there. I want to say that it's signed at 35, but it could be 30. We'll have to double check on that for you, but.
Whatever it is, keep it slow.
Yeah, well,
Don't increase
so
it.
there is
Whenever
a
we
standard
do that-
travel lane. Most travel lanes are 12 feet wide. There is some, benefit to having an 11-foot lane. It's totally within the standard. We can even go to a 10-foot lane, but the 11-foot lane actually makes it feel like you're more narrow, and it slows people down as well. It's not you know, they're not gonna drive 10 miles an hour, but they're not quite as comfortable being in an 11-foot lane, and so I think that'll help as well.
But most of the homes are on the east side of the road, right?
There's quite a few on the west as well, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
That's good.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. That's a good update.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
have one question, Mayor, not question, yeah, it is a question. When we exit off of like Oak Hills and off 89 to get onto Oak Hills, you can't see like,
Yeah,
the traffic
that's-
that's coming. Who's going to, or is working on anything to help us as we are trying to exit off of 89? At any of those exits, actually, not just Oak Hills, but you have to pull almost all the way out and then almost like run into whoever's coming, whoever's heading west, you know, before you're making your right-hand or left-hand turn.
Yeah, that was brought up early on. I know Steve's been
Yeah.
working with you
Yeah,
on this.
so these are actually setback, these stop bars are set back so that you have a stop bar before the pedestrian crossing, correct? And so the technical, I guess, I don't know what the Utah code basically says you need to stop behind that stop bar and then you need to advance out until you can see the traffic. And so UDOT, you know, it's not as comfortable as what they've done in the other places where they've had tons of space to do things. And so they've shown that this line right here, that is the travel lane for these vehicles, is sufficient for you to be able to pull forward and see around these barriers.
If you carried that line
If you
through,
carry that line through.
then people would have, feel like they have this space, but where there's, it's open, it creates this uncertainty. You know, I think you're out further than you are, but
And so.
It seems like you're pulling into the
But
traffic.
you feel like
Yeah, it
you're,
does,
especially at night.
because you can't see that, because you can't see that white line going all the way through, you feel like you're in the middle of the intersection when you really aren't. And so, I understand that it's a comfort thing and, you know, everybody would love that these are much wider, but it does meet all of the safety standards, all of the, you know, requirements for sight distance and whatnot. And so this is the situation that we have, and UDOT, you know, has addressed those and shown that all of the requirements are met. But we do encourage people, we kind of have a little funny saying, it's the stop and scooch. So you stop and then you scooch forward until you can see. You know, a lot of people don't want to stop at that stop bar because if there's no pedestrian here, it doesn't, you know, feel right. But you really need to stop back here just in case there ever is a pedestrian in the road, and then advance forward, and then you can see around those barriers.
Would it make sense or to put like a dotted line connecting those lines?
Not
So that
necessarily.
it shows where the lane of traffic is?
Yeah, not necessarily. We find that a lot of times those dashed lines actually can create problems where somebody might
Think that that's
an exit line or something, and then they'll cross over it.
So that's an interesting picture though, because that road's only been open a year and yet that paint, the stop line paint is already,
Well, so this was August of '22.
Oh.
They actually did come back in here and refresh all of this before
Yeah.
they fully opened the road. And that was temporary pavement at their paint pavement at the time. Sorry, at the time. So they've you know, refreshed all of that. And our crews go out and refresh all of our lines too as well, so.
So you can't put up a sign that says scooching.
Stop and scooch isn't quite a technical engineering term, but it gets you
Are
where
there
you-
other lighting options, or, I mean, I know the lights are there, but they're
Mhm.
back in the same location. Like, at nighttime, it's very dark
Yeah.
out there.
Mhm.
Especially on the east.
Yeah, and
So
you,
you're exiting, you have a little bit of space to the east, you can not see much of anything until somebody's coming through. And then on the right-hand side, I mean, that, you have those lights right there,
Mhm.
but it's not bright. I mean, I know you don't want it to be bright,
yeah.
but it's very difficult, visibility is not
Mhm. And that,
great at all.
I can tell you that in discussions with UDOT, they committed to those dark sky lighting.
Yeah.
situations, and so it meets their standards for the light. I'll say it, sometimes the dark sky makes it a little bit more of a challenge to get the spread that you would want on an intersection, but at the same time, I understand why they committed to it, and so. But we can, I'll double check with our light guy. He's got a meter, and we can go out there and check it out.
Okay. All right, well, let's carry on then. You guys good?
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you very much. Okay,
Maybe, Mayor, just quickly before we
Sure.
go, just a very quick, I think you were sent an email out, but we proposed for, I think, September 9th to have opening of 2,700. Did all of you see that?
Yes.
And so just as a part of transportation, we're planning to do that up at Hillfield Road to that end. But,
night?
yeah, I think that was
Yep,
the day.
at 10 a.m. for the Wednesday.
Yeah, okay. And then if there's some specific people you'd like to have invited, you'll let us know. We'll try to reach out to them. But the county's been involved in, with
Yeah,
officials to.
better.
Yeah, to contribute, but if there's other specific people you'd like to, so just want to make you aware of that. If you're in there, it's on the list. Thank you.
All right, well, let's go ahead then and go on to our last item for our work session, which is a closed door session. So if someone would like to make a motion that we go into closed door session, I'd appreciate that.
I move that we go into closed door session.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So anyone who's not involved with that, appreciate you being here, and we'll maybe see you at the next
I'd like to welcome everyone out to our Layton City Council meeting this evening of August 15th. Our start time is 7:02, and we appreciate everyone here. As customary, we like to start our meetings with a prayer and a pledge. We take turns each month in doing so. So this month it is my turn. So I'll go ahead and start with the pledge, and then I'll have the prayer. So if you'd like to stand with me. Repeat after my words. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We'll now bow. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be able to convene here this evening as a governing body for the great city of Layton. We're extremely grateful for the folks that we have that are willing to help us run this city in so many different ways, and for all the work that they do. We ask you to bless them in their daily lives, and especially those that put their lives on the line for our own safety and protection. We ask for that same guidance and protection to be upon all of our residents. And we pray tonight that as we convene on the business that has brought forth the city at this time, that we may do so with logic and understanding and knowledge to be able to act in the best interest of this city. We're grateful again for all that we have and the abundance around us with such a great environment. And we ask of these things humbly in thy name, Jesus Christ, amen. Okay, typically at this time we'd go ahead and approve some minutes, but we do not have any minutes, so we'll go ahead down to our municipal announcements. So council, I know some of you are on different commissions. If you'd like to make your announcements at this time, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one announcement that I've been announcing for the past few weeks now. The Layton Communities That Care Coalition, in partnership with Layton City, is hosting a movie showing or a free movie screening on next Thursday, August 22nd. The name of the movie or the film is called Screenagers. And this is a community event for teenagers, parents, and community members. Anybody basically who cares about our young people, who works with young people. And this film is to address substance use in young people and the digital age and how things have ramped up and changed. And so it's just to bring awareness to not just the teens, but also to parents and community members. It will be held right here across the parking lot in the Kinley Amphitheater, and it will begin at 7 p.m. I posted it on my Facebook, but it's also posted on the city website and on the calendar. And if you go to Davis Behavioral Health Utah, their website, you can get information. There's a QR code. I'll leave some of these outside that you can scan that code to register for your attendance. It is free, but we want to make sure we have enough snacks and whatnot for everybody. There will be raffles. There will also be credit recovery for students who may have some credits that need to be recovered for their citizenship. So we're inviting everyone who can and will to attend. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Councilman Roberts?
Yeah, Mayor, Parks and Recreation, a lot of things going on for families and individuals in the area. Fest is ongoing and will happen again tomorrow evening, 5:30 to 9 p.m. Lots of things to do, food trucks, entertainment happening both at 6 and 7 p.m., live entertainment, shopping from the vendors that support us every week, and then go over to the Ed Kinley Amphitheater and enjoy watching the Super Mario Brothers movie at 7 p.m. So Fest is always fun. 2 weeks from tomorrow evening will be the end of summer bash at Surf and Swim. 6:45 to 9 p.m., $2 per person. So very affordable. Good way to end summer at the pool while the bubble's still down, open air. Then the next week, September 7th to the 23rd, will be Bubble Week when we the pool will be closed and putting the bubble up. Usually it's 2 weeks, it'll be 3 weeks. This time is the pool gets a new liner, I believe. Some new improvements to the surf and swim. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Councilman Thomas?
On the 17th of August, which is Saturday, is JC Day, which we inaugurated last year. And they will be doing live audio historical things about the JCs and probably other things as well at the museum. That's where they'll be meeting, and they'll probably be meeting there after 12 o'clock. And so we just wanted to recognize them again for all the things that they did. I don't want to say start Layton City, but they sure did a lot of work involved in Layton City as time went on, especially with our parks and our recreation departments. So anyway, they'll be doing that on Saturday.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, being that there's none, I do want to kind of capitalize a little bit on what Councilmember Smith Edmondson spoke about as far as the screenagers and the fact that, school has started. We are back in school in session. So I highly encourage everyone to make sure you slow down, acknowledge the speed limits, and please be aware for all pedestrians, but most importantly during the school crossings and all of our crosswalks throughout our city. But, your neighborhoods are only 25 miles an hour, so please acknowledge that. I've said this time and time again. Speeding is our number one issue, and it really takes all of us to kind of slow down and work together on that. So thank you. Okay, being that there's no more announcements to be made, I'm going to go ahead and jump down to our citizens comment portion of our meeting. This portion of our meeting is an opportunity for our citizens to address the governing body here of Layton City. And you're all welcome to address us. We ask that you state your name and address for the record. We do have a time limit of 3 minutes that we acknowledge and need to enforce. But certainly if you're not, well, actually we don't have a public hearing. So if you wish to speak on anything that you want to bring before our attention, please do so. But also understand that legally, we will not engage in any type of dialogue or question and answer period. This is a time for you to state your information, and then we allow our staff to do the research and homework for us, and we'll reach back out to you. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to our citizens, if anyone wishes to address us.
Hi, my name is Sandeep. Sorry, this is my first time. But I have something I want to give it to the recorder. Is it okay?
To the city recorder? Sure.
So again, my name is Sandeep. So I'm buying a piece of property in Layton City. I'm having a hard time with my business license. So there were some issues with previously, since 1997, the landscape plan which was approved for that property. And that plan was not up to code till now. Now, which comes into effect when I'm trying to buy it, the City Planning Commission wants me to apply that plan, which I did, kinda. So they were missing 8 trees. We planted those trees as per the requirement by the City Planning Commission. The only mistake I made that I thought the tree has to be 48 inches high. They are 48 inches tall. And the caliper or the trunk is not 2 inches. My trees are only inch. And I already spent like close to $3,000 in planting those trees. Now, Planning Commission wants me to take those trees out and replant it, which is gonna cost me another $5,000 because those trees are $400 plus. And I need some time because the trees, they will grow. They're not like my height, which will stop at certain. And if I can get some time by next fall, if the trees don't grow to the city requirement, then I will take it out and then I will replant it. But if the tree's already planted, and then I think, that's what I think, that city should discuss with the planning committee and the planning commission if we can do something. If not, in the end, I had to do it because there's a lot of money, of my money is on stake. Okay, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else?
Hello, my name is Daniela Harding. I reside at 1506 East, 2050 North. Today, I want to address some issues that I've been having with public works in my neighborhood. So my comments will largely be directed at Mr. Steve Jackson in hopes that I can provide some meaningful feedback as a citizen here in Layton City. There has been a water main break in my neighborhood, and it has caused the water to be shut off, which we understand. I first want to focus on the good. The good is today I had a very lovely young man from Public Works named Austin come to my door and actually tell me that the water was going to be shut off. And I praised him. Thank you so much. We have a swamp cooler, and if it doesn't have water running, then my pump will burn out. I was very grateful about that. However, yesterday I had a very unpleasant experience with a Public Works worker. The issue is on 1450 Hidden Hollow Drive and Antelope Drive, there was some work being done at that intersection. Many of you know what intersection I'm talking about. It's at the bottom of the hill. I slide through it regularly in the wintertime. And there was some work being done. This has happened more than once with Public Works. They block the clear view. And I couldn't see east and I couldn't see west. I understand that they were working, but there was no flagger. There was nothing. So I'm trying to turn right to go west, and I absolutely couldn't see because a large dump truck was blocking east. And I was putting myself and my child in the way of getting in an accident. So I rolled down my window and I very politely said to the Public Works worker, "Would you please help? I can't see." To which he told me to reverse my vehicle and go back up in my neighborhood and go around to 1650. And I said, I cannot reverse my vehicle here. And so I am pleading with Public Works. Please do not block the clear view. Please, for the sake of the safety of the citizens, please have a flagger or at least close off the roads that we would be using. I understand they have a tough job to do. Layton City, in my view, has the top Public Works department in the entire state. When it snows, I know Public Works will be there in half a second, and I very much appreciate them. However, we need to make sure that when they're doing their projects, that citizens can see and not get in an accident almost like I did yesterday. Thank you for your time, and I hope this will be addressed.
Thank you. Is there anyone else at this time?
My name is Jacob Garn. I reside at 674 Rose Blossom Drive, Layton, Utah, 40441. You know, you guys are awesome. I don't think there's anyone here that's doing this for their own benefit. I know better than anyone. Sacrifice from you, your families, for your whole lives. So thank you. I've never had a bad interaction with any of the employees of the city or the police, and I'm so grateful for the privilege of living here my whole life. I went to 7-Eleven on July 20th. It was about 11 a.m., and I saw someone suffering in the parking lot. They're indigent, looked homeless, kind of ignored it. Went on my way, like we usually do. I went back 4 hours later for another big gulp because I'm addicted to big gulps, and it's a problem. It's my own fault. She was still there suffering even worse. She was searching for her keys with her partner. I helped them search for their keys, asking questions, finally found out they were there from Salt Lake to retrieve their stolen car, which Layton City called them up to do. Once they retrieved the stolen car, they ran the young woman, for warrants, which she had for sleeping in the park in Provo. They arrested her, searched her car that was just stolen, found some substances, arrested her. She had pneumonia, she was taken to the hospital, spent a couple hours there, couldn't be medically cleared to be released, was brought back to 7-Eleven and was there for 4 hours looking for their keys. I thought maybe the police have the keys, so I called the non-emergency dispatch number, I said, is there a stolen car situation? She's like, yeah. Their keys are in the evidence locker. They can't get them till Monday. Well, they're stranded here. What do you mean they can't get them till Monday? And they're lucky we didn't tow their car. I'm like, are you serious? And like, they're sitting here suffering and you won't give them their keys till Monday? She's like, we can call medical. Do they need medical? And well, I'm not a doctor. She's all, I can call medical, almost as if happy to dismiss it to medical. And I got infuriated. I held the phone about this far away from my mouth and I started shouting at the top of my lungs. I don't know if these people need medical attention. The police have their keys. They won't release their keys. Can anyone help me see if these people shouted. She finally sent a sergeant out. The key was there. Their car was there 10 days later. I've sent a freedom of information request to the police. Brick wall, they're getting litigated against, I guess. I have an interview with her telling me about the whole thing. She's holding a stray cat, go everywhere. I'm not here for viral videos. If you take someone's home, it's bad news. I drove them home to their house at the end of a dead-end street in Salt Lake on my own volition, dropped them off with all their stuff. Broke my heart. They need friends. If anyone wants to be their friend with me, I'll send you all my email address. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing that there's none, I want to thank everyone for addressing us at this time. And like I said, we'll be able to get back to you on that. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to our consent items tonight. On our consent items, we do have 3 items. And just so everyone's aware, that the council's able to consider all of these items and be able to enact in one single motion upon them. So at this time, we'd like to go ahead and have, I think, Chad, you're first up, right? No, Clinton.
Yeah, looks like it's me.
Excuse me, sorry. Our first item on the agenda is to amend the title, and our own city attorney, Mr. Clinton Drake, will be presenting the information to us here to consider.
Thank you, Mayor. These are 2 pretty small amendments. They're made at the request of our fire chief. The first one is just, we were already looking into the amending Title 16 of the fire code, and so we just wanted to while we were in there, we wanted to clarify one definition. It's essentially the same. It was just a strangely worded definition. It used to be called grossly negligently caused fire or hazardous material emergencies. We've just changed that definition to fire or hazardous materials emergency caused by gross negligence. It's the same definition, just worded a little bit differently because it was a little awkward. The only other change that was requested is when there are hazardous material, when our fire responds to hazardous material events, there's often a considerable amount of cleanup. And one of the things that they're starting to find is that when there is a battery on an electric vehicle, if it catches fire, it's a significant expense to put that out. It requires a thermal blanket that our department purchases, and they have them on hand. But the thermal blankets cost about $2,500 each. They're a one-time use, and it's made to basically, as I understand it, stifle the fire so that they can take it to a safe place, and basically it will just continue to burn until it burns out. So the 2 expenses that are typically associated with those types of fires is number 1, the expense of the thermal blanket, and number 2, it can, Steve's informed me that it can sometimes actually do damage to the asphalt. So those are the 2 types of expenses that we would be looking at. And so we're asking the council to just include that. There's already in the code, it already contemplates chemicals and infectious types of substances. And so we're just asking for that to include thermal. The next one is just simply a definition that, again, clarifies a little bit, uses where it's used in that gross negligence. So it now reads, if the person determined to be responsible to pay for the costs of an intentionally caused fire or fire caused by gross negligence or any other hazardous materials fails to make payment to the city within 30 days after that determination of appeal to the city manager. Basically, we can go and recover those expenses. So fire department's asking for that to be adopted. We've got our assistant chief Mon here. If you have any questions, I've probably butchered what that really means to use those blankets, but I did my best. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, or Chief Mon's happy to answer as well.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions on this?
I have a question. Is the addition of the blanket and the asphalt, these are just adding to a list of items that are already on the list of things that we look for recovery on, correct?
Correct. And
Okay.
and generally, according to our chief, most cities, or at least a good number of cities, have adopted this thermal because it's a growing problem.
Thank you.
So we've already had the ability to recover costs related to hazardous materials, just not specific to
Yes.
thermal. Gross negligence, is that defined somewhere else? Like what that actually means? Because it seems to me like this fires hazardous materials emergency caused by gross negligence, and then it says that it's defined by negligence. And I just was curious, is that somewhere else in the title about what that would mean? I guess I just am contemplating a situation where usually if there's a fire that happens, it's usually because someone is negligent.
Right.
And I would be worried if we were recovering costs from somebody who, had no intention of causing a fire, not an intentional cause of a fire, but negligently caused a fire. And I guess I would just curious if a public policy decision about trying to recover costs from someone who had an accident. And
so it's the difference between it's not necessarily defined anywhere else, but as you are aware, it's a pretty commonly accepted term within the law. Just for the benefit of the public and council, gross negligence is something more than just general negligence, but something less than an intentional act. But it would be the difference of something like, and this is not within the context of a car like we've been talking about here, but it would be maybe the difference between somebody using their barbecue on their back patio, and maybe there's a lot of fat or something in the meat that they're cooking, and it causes a grease fire, and the fire gets out of control and it catches the back porch on fire. But we have to respond. That would be something that would be what you're talking about, like an accident, or that would be more just the simple negligence. Using that same example, it would be more like somebody using some sort of unaccepted fuel source, filling a barbecue full of some sort of fuel source that's not the typical propane, and then causing it, which is either an intentional or grossly negligent act that causes the fire. That's where we would look at doing that.
And there's no mandate on us recovering that. It just gives us the right to do that.
Correct.
Under the ordinance or the title.
Correct.
And then, I think that's another question I had. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, just a couple questions. So the frequency of this happening?
Chief, you might be able to answer that one better than me.
And then secondly, just if the Tesla's on the side of the road and burning up, you talked about a battery in a car. What else do you want? Rivian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, if that just happens, I mean, that's not gross negligence. If it's just manufacturer or something with the battery, and we go and respond and take care of it.
So yes, so I'll answer that part, and I'll let him answer the part about how often. But as far as the gross negligence there, it would probably be less related to some sort of spontaneous combustion, and more related to were you driving recklessly? Did you cause an accident? Did the accident cause the fire? Right. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The frequency of an EV fire is we've had a couple, but not many that get into that real good thermal runaway. Specific to this blanket, the blanket, let me just set that aside for a second. Some of the other things that we're hoping to be able to do with this is that pretty much on every single motor vehicle accident that we go on, we are throwing down $15, $20 worth of kitty litter to try to keep something out of the storm drain, to try to keep the oil, the fuel, the whatever out into that. That can be added into this bill to their insurance company, to their auto bills, their auto insurance company. With a hazardous materials spill, the owners of the truck, the company that of the fuel tanker or something like that, they're going to be the ones that are responsible to that. And for us, we keep track of those costs, but we usually, bring in a subcontractor, one of those big environmental companies to come in and do it, and then they're going to pull that trigger, right? Because really the only way for us to safely move and extinguish one of these battery-powered vehicles, and Tesla, Rivian, Kia, the only way that you can really do it when those batteries get into the thermal runaway, what they have is with copious amounts of water that only cool it, that doesn't stop it, or you smother it, take the oxygen away from it, which is what these blankets are supposed to do. They're 25 feet by 33 feet long. They weigh 91 pounds when they're wrapped up in the little thing. And you put a crew together on, completed the PPE, and you go and you drape it over the top of it, and then you wrap it with a ratchet strap, and then you get it on a you soak it down, and then you get it on a tow truck, and you take it somewhere where it can finish doing what it's going to do. Because it's possible, and there have been cases where it actually smothers it and it's done. Cool. But there have been other problems where it's just going to burn until there's nothing left. And that's what this blanket's supposed to do. And for us, middle of Main Street and Gentile, not a good place for that. The parking lot at Layton Estates or the Ridges or something like that. Seasons of Layton, not a good place for that, right? We need to get that thing wrapped up, pull it out of there, and then take it somewhere into our yard, to the shops, to the training tower or something, and let it do what it's going to do until it's done. And so and again, we haven't had any. We've had one, but we haven't had very many. So the time of this is, we haven't had it yet. But cars are becoming more popular. Charging stations are becoming more popular. In my preparation to come to talk with you tonight, there's been a couple incidents in South Korea over the last 2 days where they've had these charging stations down in underground parking, and the gases that they put off got up into it's just a mess. And so they're really advocating these everywhere where they have these charging stations too. So we're grateful to have these for one of our tools.
They had that accident in, was it California or Nevada? It was a truckload of batteries that
It shut down the whole highway.
Yeah.
Right? And
they just moved it off so it could just burn.
Yeah, and this thing won't cover that, but that's what you have to do. You have to get it out of the way and then just soak it with water or let it do what it's going to do, because they have some products out there that try to slide up underneath, because most of those battery packs are underneath the car, and they just they try to penetrate, they try to soak it down. But when those batteries get into that thermal runaway, there's no stop. There's really no stopping it, and it just goes until it's done.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for the education. I'm sure all of us are learning tonight from this. So this is I appreciate you being proactive, quite honestly. So that's good. Okay, let's go ahead then and move on to item number B, which is to amend a plot at the Wyndham Square Commercial Subdivision. And Mr. Chad Wilson will present these items.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Excuse me. This is a commercial subdivision plat amendment, as was indicated, for Wyndham Square. Show the map really quickly. This is at 1330 East Highway 193. I'll show some of the surrounding uses here on the map. This is the subject property. You've got Highway 193 here to the north, existing single-family residential uses to the south, other commercial uses surrounding the property. This is a fairly straightforward application. The application really is to take an existing plat and carve it up so that we have some additional units. I'm going to show you the existing, I should say, plat right now really quickly. So as it exists, you've got essentially one lot in this location with a large lot that kind of takes up the remainder of the property, including the buildings. The purpose of this plat is to further define these units and to help to clarify what some of the maintenance responsibilities are, to establish some open space and common areas between these commercial units. So you can see there that this existing one building is divided into two units. You have one unit that includes this larger building, and the remainder becomes common area that clarifies those maintenance responsibilities for this association. Fairly straightforward, reviewed by the Planning Commission. Excuse me. they have forwarded a recommendation of approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Any questions on this one, council? Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing that there are none, we'll go ahead and go on to our last item under our consent items, which is C. Mr. Steve Jackson's going to present this item to it, and it's an approval of a quitclaim deed.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. It's good to be with you tonight. Before you is Resolution 24-25, vacation of culinary waterline easement. The Leadership Learning Academy is looking to do an expansion over there off 2675 north, and as part of that expansion, there's a current waterline easement that was dedicated with the Windsor Square Commercial Phase 3 plat. That waterline easement was intended to have a public water line that connected in Rolling Hills Park to the north, and as that was established, we've since looked at that, and as Leadership Learning Academy would like to expand on the north side of their building here, it would impact that water line. The water line is actually not connected to Rolling Hills, and as we've done our water modeling, it's not necessary to be connected. So really that water line is a private fire hydrant line for Leadership Learning Academy. They've asked us to vacate this easement so that they can complete their construction of their expansion, and as a city we feel it prudent that we no longer need the water line easement, so we would request that the council grant the request to approve this quitclaim deed and authorize the mayor to sign the necessary documents to abandon that easement and allow them to go forward with their project. So are there any questions I can answer for you on that?
Any questions?
So this does service a fire hydrant though?
Yeah, there is a fire hydrant at the very back of the building that they'll have to relocate with their new construction.
But it'll be serviced from another line. Is that
well? The line will stay in place. They'll just move the fire hydrant from where it is in the back over to somewhere over on that other side.
So if it's a private water line, is there other instances in the city where a private water line supplies a fire hydrant?
Yeah, we have quite a few of those. A lot of our commercial facilities have private water lines that are interior to their sites, and they have their own fire hydrants, and then our fire department manages the inspection requirements for those to ensure they function and work for their systems.
But the landowner would be in charge of any maintenance of that line?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing that there's no more questions regarding our consent items, council, I'll bring this back to you for an action. If whoever is willing to make the motion, could you please state the ordinance number as well?
I move that we adopt the consent items as presented. Item A, the amended title for Title 16, Ordinance 24-24. Item B, the amended plat for Wyndham Square. And item C, the quitclaim deed approval, Resolution 24-25.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we adopt the items as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. That pretty much concludes our meeting for tonight. So with that, if anybody has no unfinished business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you everyone for being here tonight. We appreciate you showing up.